In practically any coroner's office, a death that results from playing Russian roulette would automatically be certified as suicide.
Open and shut.
This case was no exception. But because of a special interest on the part of the insurance company in this type of death,
a man voids his life, we void his policy.
Case file 3547J was turned over to the suicide team for investigation.
Okay, 17 across, 5 letters, and infidelity.
It was ascertained that the victim, a 28-year-old male from Seneca County, was an Army veteran who had a collection of revolvers which he kept in perfect operating condition. It was determined from his best friend that the victim's favorite activity at parties was to play Russian roulette.
He was a showboat.
Something he had done literally dozens of times in the preceding few years. At this point, the suicide team wondered about the psychology of a man who would behave in such a fashion. Was he psychotic, or was he intent on killing himself? Interviews with the widow clarified the situation. She had threatened to leave the victim if he continued to tempt fate with his potentially deadly cocktail performances. The victim had told her that there was no possibility of hurting himself, as he always glanced at the gun to check that the bullet was in a non-lethal position before he pulled the trigger. If the bullet was one notch to the left of the barrel, he would spin the cylinder again.
It's a trick.
As far as anyone could tell, there had been no suicidal ideation. No evidence of depression, psychosis, nor morbid content of thought. The victim had not even seen live combat while in the Army. So then, what had happened? The suicide team knew that the death had occurred in someone else's home. Interviews developed the information that he shot himself with a revolver that was not his own.
I didn't even know we owned one.
But belonged to the host of the evening. What seemed most important to the fact that whereas the victim's collection consisted entirely of Smith & Wesson revolvers, he had killed himself with a Colt revolver. The actions of the two guns are different. That is, the cylinder of the Smith & Wesson revolved clockwise, the Colt counterclockwise. It was believed that the victim, checking and seeing the bullet one space to the right of the barrel, thought that he could not possibly kill himself. Whereas in reality, pulling the trigger put the bullet in the lethal position and he died immediately. In the absence of any evidence of suicidal effect,
Shame leaving behind a wife like that.
and with the additional information about the two types of revolvers, the suicide team recommended that this death be considered as accidental.
A what?
A classic case of Soviet roulette. That is, Russian roulette, in which one cheats.
And infidelity.
Cheat. C-H-E-A-T.
It's a trick. I didn't even know we owned one.
He was a showboat.
It's a trick. Darling, would you fetch me a napkin? Oh, let me.
No. I'll do it. You're in the kitchen drawer.
Sentimental sap, that's all. What's the use of trying not to fall? Have no will, you've made your kill. Because you took advantage of me. I'm making apple out of the ball, and you're gonna shake deep down, say, so what is the use? You cooked my goose because you took advantage of me. So hot and bothered, I just can't tell. My elbow from my ear. Do the pain is something awful each time you go. But much worse when you're near. Here am I with all my bridges burned. Just a baby in arms where you're concerned. What does call me yours? 'Cause you took advantage of me. You took advantage of. Bridges burned. Just a baby knows where you're concerned.